All right, so this is interesting here. Let's talk about this. Film star Jennifer Lawrence at a press conference for the San Sebastian Film Festival described what's happening in Gaza as, quote, no less than a genocide. The festival, held in Donostia, San Sebastian, in the Basque Country, Spain, saw moderators try to block repeated questions about the U.S.-Israeli genocide. Variety reports that Lawrence ultimately spoke out towards the end of the conference despite those efforts. So here we go. This is at some film event in Spain, and here's the question and answer that she finally gave. It's interesting, they were trying to snuff this question out. She kept getting asked about it, and apparently they were able to dodge it like 2 or 3 times or something. And then here at the end, she was asked and she actually answered. Here we go.
You are just an actress in a festival, but outside here, the other day there was people protesting for what's happening in Palestine. Kids are dying. Not only kids, but kids are dying. Kids are dying in Palestine, but also they're dying in Ukraine and in other countries. I would like to ask you how worried you are for the future of our kids and your kids. Thank you so much.
I'm terrified, and it's mortifying. What's happening is no less than a genocide, and it's unacceptable. I'm terrified for my children, for all of our children. On top of everything else, what makes me so sad is that this disrespect and the discourse in American politics right now is going to be normal to them. I mean, the kids who are voting right now at 18, it's going to be totally normal to them that politics has no integrity, politicians lie, there's no empathy. And everybody needs to remember that when you ignore what's happening on one side of the world, it won't be long until it's on your side as well.
That's actually a really great point. If you think this is going to be limited to Gaza, that now there's no such thing as human rights and civil rights, you're wrong. The fact that this happens to Gaza, that's a testing ground. It's gonna be everywhere now. There's no such thing as human rights, civil liberties anymore. We live in a world where might makes right. And if you are more powerful, you could just impose your will on others using force. And that's something that clearly the U.S. is okay with, clearly Israel is okay with. The UN was sort of sitting idly by as all this was happening and not really doing anything in a reaction to that. So this literally makes everybody on Earth less safe. Because now we're at the whim of fascists and billionaires. Whatever they want, they get. And we are completely and utterly expendable. Human life is now cheap. It's now cheap. And to her other point, that's also very smart, what she said there, because it's true. Think about kids growing up in this era and what they're being taught, even though it's not explicit. They're just being taught by just observing reality. What they're being taught is, oh, this is how to act in the world. Act like Trump and you'll become president. You'll become successful. Well, what does Trump represent? We all know what he represents. He represents selfishness, greed, narcissism, callousness, right? Racism, sexism, bigotry, being a war criminal, waging wars, bombing everybody, might makes right, law of the jungle. Like, this is what he represents. And so if you're a young kid growing up in this environment, you're a young male growing up in this environment, you look at that and go, that's how I'm supposed to act? Okay, I guess so. This guy's president. Like, this is who we're supposed to look up to, right? And in other words, it's a war on all the things that we were taught growing up is the right way to be. You know, be humble, be caring, be altruistic and empathetic. You know, look out for other people. Try to abide by equality and egalitarianism and justice. Have a good set of moral values. Treat others as you would like to be treated. Now it's like, you know, treat everybody else like a sucker, like a mark. Try to get one over on literally anybody and everybody. Because as long as you make out better off, then, hey, you win, right? Zero-sum type shit. This is where we're at now. This is where we're at. And that, you know, you want to talk about fearing for the future of humanity. That is something to fucking fear right there, bro. But I really hope we can make it so that actually being a good person makes a comeback, you know? Because being a good person was viewed as like, oh, look at you, you're a fucking dolt. You know, you're a dolt, you're a simpleton. You know, you're not trying to get one over on other people. You're not like manly and competitive if you're not trying to get one over on other people. And it's like, I hate to tell you, but this is a race to hell. This is a race to the bottom. If you grab onto this MAGA philosophy, which is now, you know, the world philosophy effectively, this rise of right-wing extremism makes it so Every fucking body's worse off. Everybody.
What's happening on one side of the world, it won't be long until it's on your side as well. And I wish that there was something that I could say, something that I could do to fix this extremely complex and disgraceful situation that breaks my heart. But the reality is our fear in speaking too much or answering too many of these questions is that my words will just be used to add more fire and rhetoric to something that is in the hands of our elected officials. And I just want people to stay focused on who is responsible and the things that they can do and when they need to show up and vote, and not let the actors and the artists who are trying to express freedom of art, freedom of speech, take the heat for the individuals that are actually responsible.
I'm not quite sure I understand that last part she was getting at. It almost sounded like she was saying, like, look, I'll say the right things here, but, like, sort of shut the fuck up and leave me alone, because I didn't do it, they did it. But look, man, it's important that everybody fucking speak up. These fascists need to hit a fucking wall of resistance. As we always say, you give them an inch and they'll take a mile. So I'm happy that she said this stuff. I am. But as many people, said, they were like, it's too little, too late is point number one. I think that's fair enough. They were also saying, hey, Amy Schumer, she defended Amy Schumer, and Amy Schumer is like a rabid Zionist who said some fucked up things earlier on in this genocide. And I guess she's friends with Amy Schumer or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I understand all those criticisms. Those criticisms are fair, but I would like to see everybody sort of speak up in such a clear way and make it so that it can't be taboo, because it's what 90% of people are saying. So how could it be taboo if it's the overwhelming majority opinion that everybody is willing to stand 10 toes down on, chest puffed out on? You know what I'm saying? So it's good. It's good. And I give her credit, but, it's interesting that it took, 3 or 4 attempts before she would actually answer. And it's interesting that the last thing she said there, look, I think if let's call a spade here, I think there's probably a lot of pressure in Hollywood where it's like, don't fucking speak up on this. Because a lot of the studio executives and, the people who have the power and the control and the wealth in Hollywood who get to determine the films that are made and whatnot, I think a lot of them are Zionists. And I think a lot of them are very supportive of Israel. And so, people feel like they got to walk on eggshells because their whole career might be tanked. And it's like, I understand that concern. I understand fearing that. But at the same time, what if literally everybody in Hollywood said, no, fuck this. This is a genocide and this needs to stop, right? What are you going to, you're not going to hire any of these people? And maybe they wouldn't, right? But then Hollywood would tank as a product anyway, because you get way worse actors to fill their shoes and actors who support genocide nonetheless. I don't know. I need people to stop being fucking chicken shit and stop being afraid, because do it. If you're not going to do it just because it's the right thing, do it while thinking about a Palestinian toddler who was blown to smithereens, or, a little girl in Gaza who's missing her legs and her arms because, some Israeli sniper decided to have fun and shoot off all their limbs, right? There's a real world shit going on here. And so I'm sorry, but concerns about your feelings and whether or not, you'll have a future, it's like, it rings kind of hollow. Because I think you'll be all right. You're not on the brink of being carpet bombed while in a tent in a humanitarian zone that's getting attacked right now. If you gotta find some other way in show business to make money, so fucking be it. I mean, now's the time for courage. Now's the time, because this whole path of least resistance shit is how we end up here, right? Think about it with all the things Trump does. Every day he pushes the envelope just a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And it's like, if we all just stood up immediately and said, fuck no to any and all of that, then he couldn't do it. But it's the path of least resistance. Go along to get along. That's how we end up in hell. That's how we end up with a genocide in Gaza. That's how we end up with a fascist regime in the U.S. that's doing outwardly fascist shit on a daily basis. And so we need to stand up in unity, in solidarity, and say, no, we're drawing fucking clear, bright red lines, and we're not fucking doing this shit. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.